thank you very much. I'm Scott Feldman. I'm going to be sort of moderating the talk. Most of the answers are going to come from Vince and Thomas from Triton UK. They've been, Triton in the UK is kind of neat that they're here. They've been doing the Triton method and embracing Triton since about 2012. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And yeah, they have a huge body of experience. So you've got one of the top brains of Triton UK, one of the practical aquarists, great aquarists from the UK here. And then of course Isan Dasti, founder of Triton Lab, and the man that could answer most of your, if not all of your questions about the Triton method. So we have a few questions from Triton users from around the world, mostly in the UK, that we definitely wanted to get to. And we'll get to those, and then it's open mic, so everybody could ask some questions. Yeah, I wanted to keep it really informal today. Yesterday we had a little more formalized. Is everybody here sort of familiar with the Triton method, more or less? You know the basics of it? Okay, so maybe we could jump right to questions. Why don't we do that? Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Okay, let's just save a little time. Let's get to the first questions. The first question, this comes from the UK, is what is the makeup of each one of the base elements? You know, in other words, the four-part, how are they broken up?
If I can, I'd just like to elaborate on it a little bit, because the guys in the UK, a lot of them are aware that in solution 1 is mainly your carbonates, solution 2 is going to be predominantly your calcium, and in 3A and 3B is a mixture of your magnesium and most of the other elements. Now, what the guys have found is when they've had their tests taken on the Triton lab, if they want to get to a point where they want to lower the calcium slightly, if it's increased slightly, they know that they can drop off on number 2. The question is really that we want to propose to Isan today is if magnesium is raised and they reduce number 3, which other elements they may be missing out?
You know, I think you know that, Vince, but in the beginning we had, you know, we have several problems coming up because we try to make the base elements matching to as many tanks as possible, so people don't need to adjust too much to keep it easy. We have this error that can appear that the calcium is creeping up, while we don't have ever error that the calcium is going down, which is the better choice for an error. So we try to solve the problems on the way. It's something that is always evolving. The Triton method is not fixed. You know, the base element is not fixed, and we're not getting it better. You know, in a conscious way, we can make it better and better all the time. So I wouldn't ever drop the third element in any way. It's not going to work. That's I cannot tell you what you're missing and then you add in it. It's not going to work. But yeah, for the guys in the UK, just you have the option of calcium dropping it by leaving out the second element space, but please don't do anything else. We'll inform you as soon as we have the next version where you can control the magnesium over, but just wait until this day. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to maybe, and both of you could elaborate on this, manganese. This is another question from the UK. First of all, what is manganese's role in coral growth? And how are these limits of detection developed?
I think for the limits of detection, Isan, you should answer this one, being a chemist. Yeah?
So what is the question exactly? Is it about the limit of detection of manganese, or why we...
How we come about to have the actual set point for manganese?
Oh, okay. Well, it's, I mean, okay, how can I tell you this? I mean, we're going to test seawater, and we test a lot of other aquariums for manganese especially. That's a very strange one. So, for example, in Hawaii, in Waikiki Aquarium, we measured it in the well water they sent us. So I was very curious with that. I think in my last MACNA talk I talked about it because of Julian Sprung write up something 10 years ago, and I was a kid nearly. I read that 12 or 13 years ago, I don't know. But I went to Karen Boutain, and she made it possible that we get some water from Hawaii, and I tested it, and we always test manganese in this water, right, which is like something around 3 ppb. In seawater, you never measure that. In aquariums, also very, very rare, but in salt mixes, you nearly always measure it. That's very strange, you know. So it's a normal impurity in a lot of European salts, for example, right? And I said this also in my in the speech last year in Denmark. But the set point itself is made up to, you know, it's also a bit of a calculation thing because the computer needs something to calculate with. So we are really believing that manganese is something possible for your tank, for something important for your tank, and it's possible to add it. It is good to add it beneficially, but for the computer to calculate the amount, you need to put the set point. You cannot say like undetectable and then let him calculate the deviation, because there is no deviation, right? So it's also a bit of an interface thing. It's not only something that we would make up of things. There's another things coming up that you know, when we measure seawater, we're not measuring it always with the same method. So like Craig said yesterday, you know, there are better ways even to use an ICP to get lower detection limits. You know? So for example, pre-concentration, we can pre-concentrate the sample and then we can go lower with the detection limits and find out what is in seawater. Possibly not with every element, with manganese, that is something that's possible. We can acidify the sample. You know, there are a lot of things that come, you know, but this is not always, where we do scientific work, we're not always working with this broadband measurement thing that we sell. It's not always the same thing, right? So, yeah, I think if I'm going on, people will bleed out of their ears.
I think the important thing for the UK guys there to take is that the set points were really taken from the pre-concentrated solutions that you've detected measurements from. Yeah, it's closer range. That's correct.
This is the question. Everybody is familiar with the pure salt that you market, and people want to know if you're going to make a perfect salt mix based on all of your studies so far. What's the scoop on that?
Yeah, and it will be super, super cheap. No, the thing is, yes, we're coming up, I think, with the salt in close future. These questions are very different to the ones we had yesterday. It's like, it's a UK like 3 years in front or something. Okay, so I think we're coming up with something. We try always to get other companies involved, so we're not, you know, we really don't need to have everything Triton. Right? This is not the way I would like to have it. But if we don't find a partner, normally we just go and produce our own. So the salt is something that is crucial to us because the quality need to be controlled by an ICP, and we're the only ones that have one. So yeah. I think we'll go to do one. I'm not sure when it's coming, but it will. And I like to have an innovation to a salt, so it's not coming up a normal salt mix or something. I think we'll do something else. But yeah, I'm not going to elaborate on that one yet now. Okay.
Thanks, Lisa. So the next question has come from the UK again. I think it's mainly come because the guys have been running the system for 3 years and they're starting to find ways that they want to improve it themselves, if you like. Obviously, they're getting their details to put extra trace elements into the tank. So the common question is, can they add the trace elements into their RO top-up water? Now, I've advised against this because of the evaporation rates from the tank being different throughout the year. So if you add it to your top-up water, you're actually going to be adding these trace elements different amounts throughout the year, so that's unadvisable. But the next question comes, really, which I'd like to put to Isan, is if these trace elements can't go into the top-up water, can they be added to some of the base elements so it's more automated?
Yes, some of them could, you know, but I don't like this idea, to be honest. It's not matching our philosophy to have full control, and I need to think about Joe Ayulo's talk and saying people are sometimes lazy, you know, and that's happening again. So it is something that you know, I can understand it, but it is right now it's too complex to do it. You know, I wouldn't. It's just like you know, you can have precipitation. You can the amounts are really important. You know, so you would have to do this stuff for everybody. Really need to have a contact to a chemist, and this chemist need to. I mean, even I cannot make it up on my mind, or I'm sure nobody, even not a PhD, or my uncle or Craig or whoever. You need to look what it is. You need to look what the solution is. You need to mix it in. And how many components could react with each other, how long it would take, because the reaction is not like a thing that happens always like in the first second and nothing is happening afterwards. So I think the complexity of the usability is too dangerous to give it just out to the masses. So I wouldn't do it. I would do it singly, and you go really the secure way. This is why I made up. Some of them have challenges and stuff that would maybe break away in the solution, depending which one. And I think you should. I mean, iodine, a lot of people are doing already, and that's working, but not like vanadium, cobalt, chromium and stuff. I wouldn't do that with the other ones.
So we can take from that that we're just going to dose the traces separately each week. Okay.
Yeah, you know what, let's mix this one up real quick. Let's get one from the audience. Does anybody have a question? Anybody just come up? Yeah. Oh.
Zinc. Joseph was mentioning, I've got a burnt tip problem, and Joseph was mentioning zinc, and I would just like to hear any elaboration you might be able to do on that.
I'm not doing that for you, Jim. Can you please take the red thing off? No, I'm just joking. No. Yeah, I said that, Mike. I said that last year on the speech. Zinc is a cofactor for an enzyme. Okay, that is very important to a coral when it's growing, because when the coral grows, it creates like a coating of acid around it, because the chemical reaction that taking out what is it called? The calcium carbonate. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what the normal word for it. So calcium carbonate out of the water to build this skeleton, and it is something acidic going on in between, like the tissue and the skeleton. And this enzyme it is a coenzyme, means that this is a battery for the enzyme. You know, an enzyme needs zinc to work, and it's de-acidifying this area. So they will use this enzyme all the time. An enzyme but not works targeted, so you need a special amount. It is working like on oh man, that's a difficult thing. It's luck-based working. So an enzyme is there, and when it hits this acidic thing, then it works. But if it's not going to find the thing that it needs and break it up, it's not working like that. So you need a lot of enzymes to have a good result out of de-acidifying this area. So because the coral just do, this is more theory than proven, but the funny thing is aquapora is just burning at the tips, but the tips is the place where it grows. You know, you normally don't have any other problem, just the tips are burned away, right? So we found out that when we recommend that people add zinc, so it is a possibility that zinc is low, add zinc to a system that is a fast growing one, which means you have maybe a lot of alkalinity in there and a bit more calcium, which not forces, but corals grow faster in this environment, faster than they would do in the sea, because there is always 6.5 kH. Then you because of the faster growth and the reduced zinc, you start having this problem that the acid coating just affects and kill off your tips. Now, so when you add zinc, often, not always, but often, this problem disappears. Or you can go down with a kH if you want, but that's another thing. So without zinc, not one of these enzymes will work, and everything that grows in the tank will need to burn. That's it.
Thank you. So there's another question that comes about quite frequently in the UK, and that is with regards to disease control on the fish, because we're not using UV and ozone on the system. Would you mind explaining the theory on the sandbed helping with this fish control, bacteria population being high, etc.?
You need to expand more.
You know, what methods are within the Triton system that help to deal with fish disease?
Nature. So, you know, when you need to think about that this way. A fish is not as far away as an animal from us as a coral. A coral is damn far away biologically from. It couldn't be far away. Okay, so a fish is closer to us. If you know, fish are quite they're quite hardy. You know, they are not like they are weak animals and things. They have an immune system. They have everything that we also have, like to defend themselves. But when you grow a fish in a sterile environment, absolutely sterile, and if you put a human in a sterile environment, like look at the hospitals, you know, and they have problems with, like, you know, like, what do you call it, antibiotics, resistant, yeah, you know. So you get problems that are really bad if you're not a bit dirty, you know, let's say it this way. So what the Triton method does is naturally control the amount of you know, larval, you know, diseases, like you know, it's not, the most things we have in the tank is not a real disease, is more a parasite thing going on. So what you have is you need to get the parasite. I mean, it's a big thing, you know. It can be eaten up. Bacteria could kill it. So in nature, you have this big amount of water, and you don't have this amount of parasites. But the fish's immune system can go against them. So if you have a healthy fish in a healthy environment, it not need to be sterile. You know, you can feed your fish better, and possibly, you know, growing algae, for example, tanks. My tanks, they eat, and I have a powder blue, and everybody knows that this guy is not having one parasite in his body, and he's eating all the time from the rocks, his natural food, and he's not eating too much of the meat, which is not his natural food. So food is something very important for them. Maybe, you know, we should think a bit different of keeping our fish maybe more like, you know, like more natural, and pushing them the way, you know, they defend themselves against parasites, and not try to kill the parasite. You know, so this is the way it works. And when the parasite cannot, you know, lay eggs and reproduce, you don't have a massive problem with them, because, you know, it's a natural thing. It's not like we add antibiotics or something. That's not the case.
Okay. Let's do another one from the audience. Someone have a question?
I've done the test that you offer a couple of times in my tank, and though I have a 5-stage RODI system, I still have high lithium.
Yes.
So what do you recommend that I do to try to eliminate it coming into my tank? And once it's into my tank, how do I bring it down? And third question is, what's the issue of having it relative, when I say relatively high, I think it's just above your set point for what's acceptable.
It's just above.
Yeah, I think it's just above. You know, it's in the higher range. I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not grossly high.
Well, you know, the lithium, the American lithium problem, we call it like that because it's just an American thing. I talked about with Jim about that, so I'll go through your questions. First of all, I don't think your RO water is the contaminant source. Maybe in your case, because it's not as high, but I don't believe in it. I think that it's a general thing, that it needs to be a general thing. So something like a salt that is always used by nearly every company in this country, because nearly everybody has this problem. You know, so it's not like you're all doing, you know, so it needs to be something that everybody nearly uses. So I guess it is magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate, something, you know, like that is in salt mixes, and in 2 parts, you know, and in something else that you use. And it needs to be a salty, like, contamination thing, you know. So this is more likely your source, okay? And you don't need to be afraid, because a lot of American reef keepers have this problem. and Jim over there is having possibly unbelievable high lithium thing, but it's not seeming to be a big issue to your tank. You know, it's something that we need to be aware of, and Randy Holmes don't think it is not good, but I have not seen a big, you know, problem that animals die off or something. It still could be you know, it could be a long-term thing. So getting it down is better, right? To the question how you get rid of it, Jim has an idea with the titanium thing gone, and we will possibly go for thinking about that. It's a quite good thing, good idea, but need to be tested. And for now, you just have the option of water changing. If it's not too high, well, it's okay to change water, but you need to use a salt that is possibly not American, because it will introduce, you know, maybe I mean, it's not every salt, I cannot delete that, you know. You should maybe send in something. If it's not too high, I would leave it. I wouldn't do too much, you know. If it's like 4,000, then start water changing. What was the last one? You haven't yet, like...
Well, you sort of answered it. My last one was, okay, so it's high, so what?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Then, I mean, it's not hurting. And if it's going even higher, then maybe start finding out where it's coming from. Really, just find out if those water change salt or the two-part system, where is the error, really, the source, and then try to change the source. But this is the better way than getting rid of it right now, you know. To wait for the next one and see if it's right now.
I just have a follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Do the U.S. salt producers, are they interested in, based upon your findings, to reduce their lithium content in their salts or not?
Well, yeah, I'm sure they are. I don't think that the American salt producers shut their eyes and just do whatever and just sell products. That's not true, you know. The ones will approach us, you know, directly and ask for help. Others they would have their own chemists to ask, you know. So it's not like as easy to make up a salt. It's for a chemist, it's okay, but you know, so they will have people that you know, recommend them what to do. And I'm sure it's visible for everybody now that there is this problem, and I've seen it. You know, I've seen that some people are trying to do something against it. So I don't believe that this will keep on being long-term problem. You know, it will disappear. But the key is making it visible for them. You know, so they don't have an ICP. How they do it? Do they want to know, right? But then, when you have all these tests coming up with the lithium, they will react for sure.
Well, I lied. One more question, if I may.
No worries, man.
This may be, you know, politically charged, but have you ever thought about doing tests on all salts and publishing the test on your website for lithium?
I will not do that. That is, no. I mean, yeah, it is absolutely, it's not a political thing, it's just a human, you know, thing going there. People can choose whoever they want to buy a product from, and I'm not going to you know, it is knowledge. Okay, you can do it on your own. I have, you know, people have done that already. So a lot of them. So but this is not my job. And it's not what I intend to do. I'm not going to wipe out other companies that are producing long time producing good products. It's not like they've done a bad thing on purpose. You know, it's just the knowledge that you know, the evolution of whatever reef keeping we are doing. It's always evolution in there. It's like the scientists. I mean, so many scientists. You know, I had changed my mind on a lot of things over time. You're allowed to do that. If you have more information, that's okay, right? And they have now, and they have the opportunity, and they will change. You know, it's not like everything happens from one minute to the other, and I'm not going to force this by putting something up that get people crazy, and they will go back and say, why have you never told me that you have such an impure salt and lithium is in there? You know, that's just creating aggression. That's not what we want. You know, if people do it on their own and then post it up, there are communities, and that's okay. But if we would do it in a professional way, we wouldn't be any profession anymore. You know, that's just not the way we do it. It's not what I like.
No, I can totally appreciate that.
That's variability to invalidate any defects anyway.
I mean, you know, we could also, we are humans, you know, it's possible that there's a mistake in there. Possibly one salt that I measure, there is lead in there, and it's just this one bucket because of something. And then I post it up officially, and my opinion could be very dangerous, you know. And I'm doing something to another human being that honestly have not done any mistake. And you know what? That's not nice. It's just the mass, the people that, you know, using the product. This is the reality of reef keeping. It's not one thing that I've one time measured. If you look at how we do things, we try to get a mass data, a broad band of data, and decide on the base of this broad band of data. It's not one test I've done in the seawater and I say, yeah, I found manganese 1 million something ppb, and because I've done this one test, that's scientifically true. No, you know, you need to do a lot of tests around the world, millions of them, and then you can say, okay, the average of them shows 2 ppb of vanadium, and that's somehow the truth. You know, science will never bring you 100%. So there will be always something that's going up and down. And you know, if you base on one test of salt, decide to say it's bad salt, that's just wrong and not scientific at all. You know? The same counts for every quality control we do. You know? We quality control our system so often, I think 60 times, and we need to have on the 60 times the 59 reproducible, you know, that's very scientific, but you know, reproducible results to say that's a good calibration. You know? So it's one time we allow it to be wrong for any reason. You know? It's not that we do just one calibration and say, yeah, that's it, it's okay, it's not going to work. No.
Just to add to that a little bit, in our experience in the UK now, what the guys seem to be doing if they're using a particular brand of salt is carrying out the test themselves just on the salt mix, so that they've got confidence in that product, and you know, it's not coming from someone else. They can trust in their own findings that way. You know, so that's been very helpful for the guys in the UK.
Yeah.
The other thing, another question on behalf of the guys in the UK is with regards to bromide, because it's one of the elements that we don't actually supply currently. Just to ask Isan, is that going to be a product that we're going to bring to the shelves and allow people to have?
Yeah, well, you know, bromide, we're measuring bromide a long time, even before we had, you know, the HPLC could measure bromide already, before we had the ICP. It's a very dangerous element for a tank, for a reef keeper, you know. Besides that, on its own, it's not dangerous at all, you know, in the form of bromide. The handling of it and stuff like that, you need to, you know, right now we can see that people, you know, cannot handle some of the products, the traces properly, so they're proper, right? So when they add vanadium, sometimes they just, you know, they read something up and they go to the tank and talk to their wife and to their kids and then go back and they don't want to look at it up again because they somehow forgot about it and they think maybe, it was 4 milliliter a day, but it's possibly was 2 milliliter a day, and then it's a practical thing that could go wrong. With vanadium, there is no really big deal. Next time you see it on the test coming up double as much as you want to have it, that's okay, but double as much bromide would not be good for the tank. So that's a critical thing. And as long as people are not used to the Triton way of working and really control it and be careful, or we can sign this product as very dangerous, but then nobody will buy it. As soon as, you know, the information is over and people are more better able to handle things like chemicals like that for the reef tank, we will bring it. But in a moment, I'm not happy with bringing a product like that. It's not crucial if it's lower in the tank. It's not bad for the tank in any way. And normally it's like 40 or something, that's still okay, 40 ppm. 60 would be in seawater, so that's not the point. And another thing is that a lot of animals, like sponges, produce a very strong toxin out of bromide. Okay, so if you add it and you have like big sponges in the tank, and they possibly, just because they can, just start producing a lot of bromide-based toxins, and at one point, you know, they just wipe out everything in your tank. You cannot, maybe you don't even see them. They're hid behind the rocks. You know? So they're consuming the bromide, and you add it. Consuming, add it. They produce the weapons all the time, and you add the bromide. That's not really good for the tank. You know? It's producing the danger, the bomb in your tank. That's not what it wants. So we need to sort out things before we bring a product. We always secure, you know, the safety of it. That's what we do.
Let's take another question from the audience.
I'm fairly basically just found out about gas stuff, the water testing out there, like other things as well. Along the lines of the water testing, is there like a set regimen that you have, like so many times a month, or you have to do anything like that?
I'll just restate the question. So you're asking, is there a recommended number of tests you should do in a year? I mean, and maybe different in the UK. I know in the US what we've recommended is obviously you want to do one test when you first are embracing the Triton method. You want to find out what's going on in your tank. You want to get a sort of a baseline reading as to your water conditions. And then if you elect to make modifications, you'd probably want to give it about 30 days or so. Is that kind of a recommended guideline? Yeah, about 30 days, and then do another test to see what the impact of those changes was. And then thereafter, probably it would be good to take a test another 30 days or so later to see if any of those changes, you know, how those trace elements, that additions or changes were consumed by your life forms. And then from thereafter, everybody's kind of got a different mentality. I mean, some people say every 3-4 months, some people say 4 times a year. What are you guys doing in the UK?
In the UK, I think it's quite dependent on what stocking you're keeping as well, and the value of stock you have in your tank. So if you have a tank that is stocked with thousands of pounds worth of SBS, the common sense thing is maybe to do a test every month. You know, and then you've got that security that you can see if something's changing in the tank, some contamination coming from somewhere, it's going to flag it to you early enough before you start losing these corals. Maybe, you know, a mixed reed tank is a little bit more resilient, so, you know, you may choose to do it every 3 months or so. Another question from the audience, maybe? I think this gentleman's
This is a method question. I may not be able to go with a recommended size refugium. I might be able to do 5%. How big of an impact would that be?
Well, we don't know, you know? But it shouldn't be too bad, you know? It's just that you're reducing the biological activity in your Triton system. It's not like the side of nutrient export. You know, nutrient export you can do by giving the algae the amount of light you will give on a 20% one. You know, it will grow at the same, but you need to harvest more often because you don't have the space, right? You can go over this problem. It's not a point, you know. So the nutrient export should be okay, but you need to work more, right? Because you don't have the space for letting it grow really big. On the other side, what you did, you know, you're touching the tank too often, and you know, because of the harvesting, and you have a low amount of like animals eating the algae, a low amount of released biological products, byproducts that the corals will take up and eat. So a bit of less like creepy things going on in your tank, and that's something that you cannot avoid then. But that don't mean that it's not going to work. It's depending on how much you would need for your animals to eat, right? So in my tank, for example, this monster crab and, you know, all these aquapora that are alive all from the downside, they eat a lot, you know. I know that they eat a lot. I mean, I don't see anything creeping there up in the top, like, you know, and I have like so many baskets in there all the time eating, and they are fat, like, you know, you can eat them, well, it's an unbelievable fat fish, you know. So I know that they, you know, they would need this, and if this breaks down, I have a big problem in my tank. In yours, when you started to do it this way with the 5%, you will never reach this super fat bastard, you know. So you know, if you don't have it from the beginning and it's super fat, then you will not reach it. That's okay, you know. So you need to try it a bit, and I don't think it will not work. You know, not having it at all is the more critical thing to it, in my opinion.
I think adding to that a little bit as well, with regards to nutrient control using the algae bed. So if the algae bed's a little bit smaller than what most people could accommodate, is maybe to look at lightening it a little bit stronger so that the algae bed works more efficiently, and then harvesting it more regular. Okay.
And you can't underemphasize the diversity of macroalgae. I mean, a variety of macroalgae to do the job. Another question?
If say we test every month, is there a way, does your system or your account or anything compile the data where you can look for trends and things like that, or is it one of those individual, you need to dump it into spreadsheets?
No, there will be a way. You know, the system can read the data, so because it can calculate with it, so it can read the data, and it's actually not a big problem. We worked it out already to get a chart, so you can just click an element and then you see a chart what's going on. Because people started in the UK, you know, it is about like the demand. So the demand is started to come up in the UK and in Europe because they know it longer and it's more present to them, and we're going to start that. But for the US, you know, in the moment we wouldn't need it. It's just for you guys, it would be a bit of a fancy thing right now, but it's still okay. You know, the strontium, you can see that you can calculate how much between 30 days, and you can start creating your own dosage for strontium and stuff. So this will come. I think it wouldn't be even too long anymore. I think 2 months is the estimated release time for this new, you know, clicking things, fancy things on the website.
Do you have the database now, such as previous tests would be included in that?
Yeah. All tests are always every test you have ever done with us is, even for everybody that's doing it 3, 4, 5 years, is on this on your account always, you know, and it's secure, so nobody can hack it.
There's also, in the UK, there's a couple of the guys are using a couple of apps that are available in a second. It's a manual input, but still, if you do like to see these graphs and follow the trends, there's a few on there that are really good. The Triton support group as well, if you pop on there, have a little look, ask some questions, I'm sure they'll share links across. Any more questions there?
One of my tests, actually all of my tests show a little bit elevated copper. Can you just provide some tips? I know you offer a product that removes that copper organically. Provide some tips to using your product.
Yeah, copper is quite. You don't need to use directly my product. It's depending on how much copper you have. Best thing is finding the source first. You know, that's the biggest problem always. So you see you have copper. You don't want to have copper. So there is something you add, because copper leaves the tank also on its own. It's not normally no need to do something. Just cut off the source. So then the copper will slowly leave, be skipped and whatever, and it's gone. So you can see that at the zeolite systems. You know, they add copper every 10 days, because if they don't, the copper is leaving the tank and the corals are starting to get not bleached anymore and normal again. So you shouldn't be too afraid about that, but you should find the source, because if it's something that may be corroding just a bit right now, and in 2 months there's a big hole in it and it's releasing more and more and more copper, that could be a problem. You know, so I would go first, when I see copper, I would first go for the source. I had it in my tank, and the source was the paint from the wall falling into the sump, and nobody looked like, you know, it's just from the wall, just too wet and just falling, and it was copper in there. So it could be really things that you never think about. So I would just do the source, finding the source first, and then you can treat the tank always when you have it way too high. I would treat it you know, just to make sure that nothing happened to the animals. But yeah, finding the source is always the most important thing. You know, when,
Clue where it's
yeah, if it's not too much, I mean, it could be also some of the products that carry it with it. You know, some food, fish food, coral food, you know, liquid coral food. A lot of them carry some stuff like that. Accidentally, you know, it's not always the same thing. You can cut off of some of them things, you know that you don't need to feed corals, like they can live without food for a long, long time. So cutting it off, do the testing, see if it's dropping, and then you can, like, you know, this typical subject thing, like you get it focused on one of the things in food or the supplied water, possibly with a 5-stage, you know, you can directly forget about that and then go on like that.
I do dose every once in a while trace elements, which I believe that has copper in it, and that could be a problem.
Cut them off, you know. It's not like everything of traces yet, and then you see. Yeah, I will do that.
Just a little one to elaborate on as well. We've done a lot of fault finding in the UK, because obviously we've been running for 3 years, and there's a few little things as well, like, you know, people are quite often leaving their magnet scrapers in the water, you know, and leaving them in all that time can also lead to them corroding. Checking for all of your equipment, like your pumps and heaters, etc. You know, because it's surprising that after a certain amount of time, some of these elements start to break down and are the source of that contamination. Okay.
What was the first thing you said, what scraper?
Using your magnet scraper, and a lot of guys have a tendency to leave it in the water rather than actually removing it once they finish their maintenance.
That's interesting, 'cause I always leave my magnet board inside the tank. It's such a monster to take out.
Could be. Some things in there like that. Okay.
You had a question about?
I do. So the salt that you're sort of considering making, would you also consider ICP testing small batches of it? And like putting the results on each bucket?
Oh yeah, for sure. yeah, I've heard about it. We put a test into the bucket. Yeah. Sorry. No, we will sure do that. You know, 100%. I mean, there are always impurities. You know, a bit, and we will transparently show them. You know, it's just about us to find out the way that it's not hurting your tank, right? I don't want to have copper or lead in there. But I can live with a bit of manganese, I can live with a bit of vanadium, because otherwise you would add it, you know. So this way we will do it and try to make it affordable. You know, I can go for super pure quality, like I think even Merck makes something up that it's like super pure, there's a trademark on it, it's so pure, but you pay for unbelievable amounts. So we need something that is like Triton, something like tank secure quality. You know, which is payable for everybody, but don't hurt our animals. And this is what make our company so special, because we know about our reef keeper. You know, so I'm targeted in what is the best for my tank, not like what is written on a label and make it. You know, pharmaceutical quality is good, but sometimes not needed. You know, I have calcium chloride and there's magnesium chloride as a impurity. But everything else is super good. We can use it because, I mean, it's magnesium, you know, it's super good for our tanks. But if there is copper in there, it's not. And both of it would you know, make the salt not pharmaceutical grade anymore, because it's impurities in there. But it's really counting which impurity, you know, so we will do that. Don't worry. And normally we do it with every product that comes like that, you know, like very chemical.
Any more questions for anyone?
Two, we keep going fast.
I got a short one. To ensure that your RODI water is actually pure and not adding to anything you don't want in the tank, do you recommend we send you the RODI water that we're holding in our tank, our overall tank, as well? So this way we can get a real idea. We all think it's 100% pure, but let's be honest, it's not. Do you recommend that as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly fine. You can send your RO water across and these can test it for you. But we also have method of producing pure water, and that is to have a double DI unit on your system. And what we'll do, we'll put the TDS meter in between the two DI pods and then exchange them. So as soon as you see a reading on the first one, you can take this out, move the second one across so it's in that place, and replenish the second.
Yeah.
You make sure you're using it to the most benefit.
You can send it in freshwater, because freshwater, but it's not the same metrics that we measure normally. So what's happening is it's possible that some of the elements show up a bit higher because the plasma is hotter, but that don't, you know, if it's showing up, it's in there, you know. So you can do it whenever you want, and that's fine. Just don't acidify it. Go on, last question.
Okay, this is my last question here. If you were to test between two given elements, potassium or strontium, and let's say you couldn't test either one, which one are you most likely to not test for and dose in your tank, potassium or strontium?
Potassium.
Okay, why is that?
Because strontium is the more reactive one, and potassium is not at all dangerous. You know, not in lower amount and not in higher ones. It's not a point. You know, it's nothing happens. I've measured potassium in tanks with 800 because people just add it and not measure it, right? And there's no effect. You know, so it's not the point. But strontium is something that when it's really low, you know, for acropora is I mean, it's not bad, but you know, having it at 8 is super good. It's really nice. You know, there's a good effect with it. I would go for strontium. Potassium, but is a main matrix element. But normally people don't have problems with potassium too much. You know, it's just a thing that came up once and it's disappearing a bit right now, to be honest. The strontium one is long-term thing that people used to add since they start feeling that acropora really like it, like stony coral likes it. It's a good thing. I would go for strontium.
Can you overdose on?
Yes, you can, but it's not happening too much. Just it's okay. Because strontium, I mean, it's very expensive. So normally, when you have a bottle of strontium, it's not too much in there. That's a good thing because overdosing it would shoot you to 100. But and that's not happening. So we don't have 100. We have 12 or 13 ppm, which is like even not double amount in seawater. And corals really like it, so they take it out really fast.
Well, thank you very much for showing up, and obviously Isan and Vincent will be at the Triton booth throughout the day, so if you have more questions, feel free to come on up and say hi, and a lot of good information there. And then again, don't forget those Triton user forums that are going to be very good source of talking to fellow Triton users, get some good ideas, good information and support. And chances are if you're encountering something, they've encountered it too, so there's a lot of great collaborative work going on there. But thanks again for showing up.